Hi everyone, welcome back. Before I get into the video, I want to talk a little bit about some of my past videos. Not so much the content, but the quality of them. I recently bought myself a new monitor, and I was shocked when I went back and started looking at my videos. There are some real issues with sizing the pictures for the screen and so on and so forth, and they would get too big, make it blurry. I'm going to have to go back and redo some videos, and in fact, you're listening to a video right now that's been redone. I took down the previous one and reworked it. Another thing I want to mention is I am an amateur, and this is I'm learning as I go. I do the best I can. It's starting out with blurry pictures. All the pictures that we get from the websites are blurry. Occasionally you get one that's a little less blurry than others. I'd like to concentrate on those. Right now we're looking at a picture of some new type of construction. I mean, it's been hard enough for me to find all the excellent pictures of buildings to show you. And now I have an all new type of construction. You know, people are starting to think I'm a little daft with my obsession and trying to show these pictures. Well, now I've got some new stuff, and it's even more difficult to show. I'll do the best that I can. I'm not convinced that I'm going to continue to go on to showing people these pictures, but or these types of pictures of this type of construction. Right now you're looking at a triangular, what you might think is a rock is actually a building, and you find these triangular rocks all over the place. I just realized it this week that just about every picture I look, you see these triangular rocks. You know, they're all standing on their end, and there's a couple other shapes that are repeated over and over that are just supposed to be rocks, and they're not rocks at all. It's a really complicated type of construction that they do there. I don't know if it's modular. I don't know if they start out with a rock and attach to it. I think it's kind of modular, and they just kind of keep adding on, and they can go any direction they want. Frequently, as I said, you see these triangular rocks, but there's some other shapes, and there's some coming up here shortly that are completely no shape at all, really, no particular shape. And those, I don't know if they start out with a rock and cover the rock and add on to it. I don't know what they do, obviously, but it is more difficult to see, and you kind of have to really focus in on it and get down and get dirty. Get down and walk around on the ground. Here's one right here. You can see the roof of it, really clearly, or the peak of it, or whatever you want to call it. But everything you're looking at right there are buildings. They're clusters of buildings that have an unusual shape. One of the ways you can tell, other than just seeing all the right angles down on the surface of that rock, is the little black dots, which are openings, which you'll see virtually in every video that I have, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. This thing here looks like a little platform, and down in front of it is a temple-looking building. You have to go back and take a look at it. The color saturation is all over the place on this video. I'm tired of looking at that orange stuff, so I took it out and on most of them, and some of them I didn't because I didn't feel like going back and changing them. But here, look at this right here. Now, these look like rocks, and you might think that this is, nearby, but this is actually very far in the distance. And to the left of these structures here is a smooth area, which, by the way, is all buildings. But then to the left even a little bit more, you see some tall high-rise type buildings in the white area there. Look closely, you can see tall buildings. So if those are tall buildings, then how big are these other rocky looking buildings? And I want to emphasize they're not rocks, they are buildings. The scale is really weird to figure out, and I have a video. My next video, I'm going to nail it for you. I found a great picture that is very, very telling on how this scaling works, how they put everything right in front of your face, and you don't even realize what you're looking at. I've gone through that so many times. I've been confused over the top, actually, on what's going on. I even at one point thought that maybe these are little people. I've seen some videos where they think they're looking at little people, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just some weird, not weird, but just unusual. It's hard to understand the scale, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now here's some anomalous rocks out in the middle of nowhere. Your usual triangular rocks, but when you come in on them, you can easily see they're not rocks at all. And in fact, all the other rubble rocks that are around these big ones are actually buildings too. And if you look at that triangular rock on the right, I mean building, right next to it is a dark high-rise building. How tall is that building? Is it 10 stories, 20 stories, 100 stories? How big is that triangular rock? I mean building. I'm still calling it rock, see what I mean? Absolutely buildings. They have that stair-step design that goes up one side or both sides depending on the rock. I mean the building. Oh my, that's confusing, I tell you. It's alien, and this is the most alien of all the construction that I've come across. Now we do see the shoebox shapes, which are great, and the right angles and everything. But some of this is really weird looking, and it's going to take a little getting used to, and I'm going to have to find ways to bring it out nice and clear for you if possible. Again, my next video should get into it a little bit more. I got a great picture to use, so looking forward to that. Anyway, these triangular rocks are everywhere in every picture, and the other shapes are there all the time too. But these are the pictures, or this is a picture of the usual shapes that we see, tall buildings with these dark openings or windows, whatever you want to call them. You see them literally by the thousands and thousands. In this picture here, you must be looking at thousands of those little dots. A lot of people think that they're, pixels or something like that, which is, not true at all. Yeah, this picture, I'm going to come back to this picture all the time. There's so much here, I could literally take this apart 100 times. I don't want to get too boring though, but it's a great picture. It's worth taking the time to look closely. And there goes that word again, closely, looking closely. I can't help it. And when I turn the picture inside out into a negative, all of the shapes really stand out. Down there in the lower left, you can see thousands of little buildings and their little black dots. This is a famous picture that I'm going to come back to. This is mass humanity right here. There are so many buildings here. And again, you can see all the black dots. There's plenty of them. It's a very large scale. I don't know if that's, 5-10 miles across to the other side. So that construction on the other hillside is, not only is it very interesting, it's really quite large. And of course, here's the burning building. This building's on fire. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's smoke. If it's not on fire, then it's some other process I don't understand. But the point is that it takes oxygen and fuel to have fire, and that's a fire. Sometimes you have to call a spade when you see it. I mean, what else would you call smoke coming up from a building? I mean, I can only call it fire. This is Vera Rubin Ridge, and this is the place where they're doing a study on erosion. And there's a lot more here to see than just erosion. Frankly, back on the top of the hill there behind that tower is that big black object. Yeah, I'm convinced that is a ship. I've mentioned it 2 or 3 times before. I'm absolutely convinced of that. There's nothing else that looks anything like it, and the shape is, you know, pretty anomalous. I mean, it's not, you know, it's kind of the shape of what you would expect for a ship, you know, for something large like that. Now, this picture is a picture that you see all the time. Whenever NASA has an announcement about something from Mars, they always use this picture. It's a picture from the Curiosity rover overlooking Gale Crater. And this is the picture, excuse me, that I used for my video Mars City Up Close, Buildings, Streets, Machineries, and UFOs. And, you know, there's a huge city in this picture, and I didn't even realize how big it was because I recently ran across the other part of this panoramic image. I didn't realize. Now, in my video, in this image, you see the dot there up in the sky? That's a UFO. That's what I'm calling it. I don't know what else it is, but yeah, I found 4 of them perfectly evenly spaced. And, you know, in the other part of that image, I found 12 more. So there are 16 of these things perfectly spaced over a very large area, and they're just hanging in the air there, you know. Here's another shot, a kind of reminder of what you normally always see, the different shapes that I have that you see. Here's a great picture. We've got some very interesting things here for you. Again, the black dots. I mean, look at them all. It's almost, you know, disturbing to the eye to look at these kinds of pictures with all these dots. Now, here is some crazy construction. Look at that building in the center. It looks like they built it on its corner. It's you know, that's the only way I can describe it. These are all buildings. Everything you see here is buildings. There are no rocks. And the black dots, as I say, will really give it away. There's a couple different looks of it here. I just gave it a little more contrast or a little less contrast or a little more brightness, trying to make it easier to see. Now here's one of those really complicated constructions. This is all a structure, but I mean, look at it. It's you know, it just goes in all different directions. That's why I say I think it's a modular construction. Very hard to show, very difficult. That's why I'm not sure if I want to spend too much time on it, because then people really will think I'm daft. But I'm not. Especially when you come up with a picture like this, where you get, you know, the skyline. When you see these buildings on the skyline, that's really a definitive picture right there. I mean, there's no way to deny that. You know, again, it is what it is. And these are pictures from Mars. And those are buildings on the skyline. It is what it is. It's called a duck. This is some buildings in the chocolate milk. You know, NASA does a really fine job on, excuse me, on obscuring these pictures. So I'll come along and look at the ghost and colorize them, make it easier for you to see. Sometimes you know, I really feel like I have to do that because people don't have the time to, or maybe even the interest to sit and really stare closely and figure out what it is that they're looking at. So that's why I do that. This is an enormous panorama. It is just gigantic. And I took a picture from the far left, from the middle, and from the far right. And folks, that is all buildings. That entire distance from one side to the other is covered with buildings. Now, these aren't very good pictures. They're good enough to see, though. It's very dark, but you can see the buildings in these. You know, it's like I said, it's not that great, but you can see them. And that's a lot of humanity there. A lot of humanity. Thanks for watching. Please give a comment. I'd love some comments. I don't ever get comments. I don't know why. But good or bad, I'd love to hear them. See you soon. Bye-bye.